Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another video. Welcome back to another episode on Beyond the Touchline. This is the post-game week show for game week 26. 10 games always have happened, lots of action, lots of things to talk about. Let's jump right in. Drop a like on the video if you guys are enjoying this series, and of course subscribe if you're new around here. But yeah, let's jump right in. So the Premier League table as it stands after game week 26. Of course, Liverpool have played one more game together with Aston Villa because of Liverpool's EFL final matchup with Newcastle later on this year. So because of that, they and Aston Villa had to play their game extra. We talked about that in the previous episode. But as you can see, the top 10 not really having the most of luck. Evidently, we've had 6 of the top 10 sides losing games. Only Liverpool, Newcastle, Villa and Brighton have all won their games. If you look at the bottom 10, however, it looks a lot better, to be honest, apart from the bottom 3. Bottom 3, unfortunately, still struggling. Everton, Manchester United, obviously, they drew. And then obviously the rest of them, they did win. So a bit of a change up, I guess, in general. But as you can evidently tell, from 4th all the way to 10th, it just separates by 5 points. It's actually getting tighter than it looks, which is crazy. But of course, Liverpool's gap at the top of the table still stands pretty highly, despite having more than one game. Despite playing more than one game, you can just tell how good they've been this season, and to have that sort of gap against even second place Arsenal. Yeah, I think it's quite clear to say Liverpool should be winning the league. I mean, we've said this multiple times throughout the season already. If it's not any more clearer now, I think it is. Right, in terms of these statistics, Mo Salah is still mental. 25 goals for him thus far this season. Alexander Isak scoring a brace, I believe, against Nottingham, so he's on 19 now. Haaland didn't score any this week, so he's on 19. I think he'd even start against Liverpool. Chris Wood here on 18 and Wembley there on 15. As for the assists, Salah had an assist against City, so he's on 16. Robinson, Saka, both didn't register any assists, so they're still on 10. Damsgaard, 10 assists. I think he played extremely well against Leicester. We'll talk about that later. Registered 2 assists together with Heung-min Son, so now they're on 10 and 9 respectively. Right, here are my predictions. I predicted 5 outcomes correctly this time around. I think not too bad, to be honest. Some of the games I felt, I mean, I probably could have predicted that, but at the same time, it's a prediction for a reason. I think it's not too bad this time around. I think to get half again correct is not bad to me. But of course, like Man United, that game, honestly, Everton should have won. Based on how the game went. Fulham, Palace, I think that was a shock one. Villa, Chelsea, honestly could have been a draw, but obviously Villa won. But here are the results anyways for you to see. Leicester 0, Brentford 4, Everton 2, Manchester United 2, Bournemouth 0, Wolves 1, Ipswich 1, Tottenham 4, Southampton 0, Brighton 4, Arsenal 0, West Ham 1, Fulham 0, Palace 2, Villa 2, Chelsea 1, Newcastle 4, Forest 3, and City 0, Liverpool 2. Right, we're kicking things off with Leicester and Brentford. Now, obviously, 4-0 result for Brentford is phenomenal. I think Brentford played extremely well that game. And obviously, Leicester, once again, I think the final product, they've always been missing that. They had a chance really early on, I think, like the 4th minute, where Vardy had an opportunity to score, but obviously, goalkeeper was equal to it. I think that probably could have changed the complexity of the game in general. But again, to do that, you had to score the goal. And again, just that final third, sometimes, even when Leicester have chances to try to score, they've not been able to take it seriously. So because of that, I think it's really impacted the game. Obviously, Damsgaard with 2 assists, that game was really, really good. But Brentford, when they won the attack, they were just clinical and they played extremely well. I mean, now 6 successive home defeats and 6 successive home games without scoring a goal for Leicester City. I think it's getting bleaker and bleaker as the days go by for them. Even when it looks like they could probably do something in games, they've not been able to do that. They're just not be able to convert, to be honest. And I think that has been the story of the season for Leicester City so far. I just feel that by looking at it, maybe sacking Cooper was really just the wrong decision. I don't know. I think Cooper had done a really, really good job. If you have watched one of my videos back when I was talking about the sacking of Cooper, I clearly said that, I'm quite sure, at least I said that, Cooper was doing extremely well. I mean, what are you going to expect with a squad like that? With the experience that Cooper has, I think is really, really good already. I'm not saying Root doesn't have experience, don't get me wrong. But, you know, by the looks of it, it looks like he's getting demolished every single game. It's not like they're losing by just a goal or two. I think if you're just losing by a goal and you've been very competitive in games, I would probably count them as quite unlucky. But at the moment, it's like you're not scoring goals. Your defense is extremely leaky. There are more problems than ever to actually solve these, you know, underlying issues. So yeah, it's obviously terrible in my opinion. Disappointing, I guess, in all aspects for sure. I think yeah, but Leicester should be on the drop as of now. I mean, it's very hard for them. It's very hard to see them actually surviving anymore. And even if they do, unless they bring in really good reinforcements next year, I just don't see them surviving. But as for Brentford, I mean, 11th, 10th, thereabouts now. So yeah, I mean, obviously they're trying to break through the top 10. Brentford having a relatively good season, to be honest. I mean, as always, I mean, obviously inconsistency has played a part, but ultimately, as of late, I think they've been got slightly better. So if they're able to keep up this, you know, as a reasonably good form, they should be in good hands. Right, Everton, Manchester United. Now this one, obviously Everton were 2-0 up at the break. And they were really good, to be honest. Just I think Man United scoring the two goals. Ultimately, I think they probably were the only two shots on target the whole game, to be honest. Obviously the free kick from Fernandes was brilliant. The second one from McGarty, I think, was a mess in the box. He had an opportunity to score. Everton's goals, I think, from Beto and I can't remember the next one, Decore, yeah, of course. Decent goals, I guess, in general. I think Beto's goal was obviously quite good. Beto really clinical, scoring quite a couple of goals now already this season. I think with the absence of Dominic Calvert-Lewin, he's been able to shine, and that's what they needed. I think probably starting Dominic Calvert-Lewin for that many games might have just been a wrong decision. But at the same time, it's probably because Deitch didn't really know how to use Beto to the best, and it looks like Moyes has been able to do so with Beto. I'm not saying this is prime Beto probably, but you know, him being able to score goals as a striker when Everton's attacking threat just isn't the best. When you've got your own striker scoring at least minimally almost close to a goal every game, you've got to be rather pleased. I mean, of course you've got to rely on your other players to score goals sometimes, but you know, with Beto, what he's doing right now, I think is pretty decent, to be honest. But obviously conceding two goals, Everton, you know, in space of 10 minutes is not really good. Again, suggests the defense has been extremely leaky to a certain extent. I mean, a lot of times when you rely on Jordan Pickford, yeah, you can't always rely on your goalkeeper, to be honest. Well, of course, I think the highlight of this game was in the 94th, 95th minute when Ashley Young was, well, initially pushed to the floor by Delicta Maguire, and the referee pointed to the spot and it was penalty. He gave the penalty. After that, he went to check VAR and he overturned that decision. What do I feel? Now, obviously, again, the result has been you know, it's been said. Decisions have been made, but for me, that would have been a penalty for me at least, because as much as probably Ashley Young dived a little bit more than anticipated, because Ashley Young does have a history of diving in general. But I felt at that point in time he probably would have gotten the ball. It wasn't a slip, I felt. And you can clearly tell the pressure from, or rather that nudge from Delict Maguire, you know, savaging him a little. Maybe he could have used a bit of acting skills to make it look like they were pushing him, and I probably would have been deceived if that was the case. But for me, I think on the onset, and despite looking at the replays, from certain angles, I still feel that that would have been a penalty for me, because I genuinely believe that Young would have got a touch on that first. Whether or not he would have scored is nothing altogether, but I think the bare minimum is that he probably would have gotten first touch ahead of those two defenders, which is why to me that should have been a penalty, because you are obstructing a possible opportunity, a possible goal scoring opportunity rather. Don't exactly think that they would stretch a leg down, because I would have imagined Young would have tried to strike it into the top left corner from his angle, or rather top right for Onana. So where Maguire, Delete and him were moving at the same direction, I just don't think that they would have gotten the ball. But that is my take on that. But the game has ended anyways, 2-2 draw. Honestly, I would have said it's a good result on paper, but when you've watched the game and you realise that Everton had chances and Man United were just not good at all in that game, they were just probably lucky to get away with that result. Yeah, it's a poor result from Everton, isn't it? I can't believe I'm saying that for the first time this season for Everton, but yeah, it's just poor from them. They really should have won that game. I'm sure Moyes would have known that himself. But at least another game unbeaten, 6 games unbeaten now in the Premier League for Everton, which is well, I think it's a good feat to have at this point when you're trying to get yourself out of relegation zone as much as possible. Yeah, it is what it is with this one. But Man United clearly they still need a lot of changes. I'm not even going to talk. I'm not even going to talk about them because there's just no point. Alrighty, Bournemouth and Wolves. Now for this one, I think it's going to be really interesting. I think Bournemouth had some chances, but they weren't as good as they were in other games. And sometimes when they do have a little bit of a dip in performance, they've been able to, I'd say, still get a decent result, whether it be a draw or a win. Today's result, or rather this game's result, have shown that it can go otherwise. Wolves, I mean, not too bad from them. I think the win is crucial for them anyways. Their hunt for escaping relegation. It's important for them to obviously get the win over the line, and they've done so, right? Fantastic job from Wolves. Cunha's goal, I think it was, probably could have been avoidable in some sense, but Wolves had some good chances, to be honest. I think it's the same with Bournemouth, really. Both sides had some good chances. Bournemouth, just the upper hand I was expecting from Bournemouth to possess, it wasn't there in this game, I felt. And it just made the game a lot tighter, obviously. But otherwise, I think it's still a relatively good result in general for Bournemouth, despite the defeat. You can't win every single game, but ultimately, they would be slightly disappointed, I'm sure of it, considering the form that they've had this season, all the highs that they've had, lows just aren't as common. So this is okay, I guess, as though it's not happening too much. Nottingham Forest, I think that you should be fine. But as for Wolves, great result, I guess, even on paper. Whether or not you've deserved the win at this point, at this juncture, a win is a win for Wolverhampton Wanderers, and they clearly need it in my opinion, and they've gotten it themselves. They fought for that. Great result for them. Nothing much to say, but they just need to keep on trying because wins don't come by easily for relegation threatened teams, and they've just got to put in the results week in week out for them. Right, Ipswich Town and Tottenham. Ipswich had a really lively start, to be honest, and Delap could have probably had a hat-trick in like the first 8 minutes or so, and that would have changed the game completely. It genuinely looked like the momentum that Ipswich had at the beginning of the game, it genuinely felt like they were probably going to trouble Tottenham throughout the rest of the game. After that, really just intense pressure at the very start, it just subsided. And Tottenham really wiped Ipswich off the floor there. Tottenham were 2-0 up, and obviously Ipswich pulled it back to 2-1, but, still, for me, 4-1 is a crazy result to have. But Tottenham were really good in this game after, the initial pressure that Ipswich were piling on them. Otherwise, I think Tottenham had a really good game. The players gelled really well. Vicario putting some really good saves. Saves, yeah. I think he said assist there. But yeah, otherwise, really good. Tottenham, Son with 2 assists as well. Son and Brennan Johnson. This partnership here looks stronger. This game has shown that they can really do it. Just nothing much to say for this one. I think Ipswich, with the win for Wolves, it does dampen the spirits even more for sure, and it hampers the progress to survive the Premier League this year. But again, I guess it is what it is sometimes when the cut just is a bit too much for you to handle. Again, had they stayed the season, they were gonna have to bring in good reinforcements next year to try and survive, which I think would also not be very easy. But it's not over till it's over, isn't it? So they still do have chances. They still do have time. 5 points the gap now between them and Wolves. It's still possible, I guess. But yeah, I mean, anything can happen. If you take Everton's form, or you extract Everton's form at the end of last season to Ipswich this season, they could still stay up. So, we'll see how. I guess that's the beauty of the Premier League. It's still very unpredictable, except Southampton. But otherwise, and Liverpool. But otherwise, it should be relatively tight. I think it's, as I said, it's between them, Wolves, and Leicester. But Leicester, I just think maybe slipping away as well for them. But regardless, I think it's not the worst result for Ipswich. This one, I think, just the quality differential is just a bit too big. But yeah, at least Tottenham will clinical this one, and they managed to get themselves a win. Right, Southampton 0, Brighton 4. I think this one there's nothing much to say. Ramsdale have managed to save Southampton so many times this game. If it weren't for Ramsdale, I think Southampton would have been on the receiving end of like another 9-0 result, 8 or 9-0. They were poor, diabolical. They've only had one chance, I think, one really good chance. And Archer did score, but it was offside. But regardless, this whole game in general, right, Brighton just showed how bad Southampton have been. I'm not saying Brighton were fantastic, although they were genuinely very, very good. But it just shows how Southampton are just clearly not Premier League level. Defense just so leaky, conceding a lot of shots, conceding a lot of chances. Ultimately, conceding a lot of goals as well. As I said, if it weren't for Ramsdale, they really would have lost by a huge, a bigger margin. This is too much to handle for Southampton now. They've just got to pack their bags and focus on the Championship next year. I think now what they can probably look to is just, gaining experience in the Premier League for some of the players who may not have as much Premier League experience, or just understand essentially how the Premier League works, use that experience into the Championship, wipe their opponents, and then come back up again, try the best to see what they can do again. Because honestly, Southampton is a really, really good side in general. At least a couple of years back when I first started watching football, Dusan Tadic, Mane, those days, they were really, really good. Even Fraser Forster was pretty decent back then. This time around, the Southampton that we know is struggling left, right, and centre. Yeah, just nothing much to say. But Brighton, great job, Brighton fans. You must be really happy. 4-0 result is a really, really good result. It does their goal difference massive favours, and in the table it pushes them up to ninth. Obviously the draw column is obviously upsetting, but regardless, it's okay for them. I'm quite sure of it. To be honest, to think that they have had fewer losses than Man City. To be honest, Man City's 8 losses is one of the most in the top 10 because it's alongside Newcastle. But otherwise, they've Bournemouth, Chelsea, Villa, Brighton, Fulham have all lost fewer games than Man City. I don't want to talk about that anymore. But yeah, anyways, still really, really good from Brighton, to be honest. They've really taken the chances seriously. Mitoma, obviously Minte, a bit unlucky to just not score goals. I think Ramsdale was just really, really good in goal as well, despite conceding 4. The 4 goals he's just bound to concede sometimes. But otherwise, yeah, great start from Brighton. Hopefully the momentum keeps them up to push for more, not just keep them up for the Premier League survival, but maybe might be able to sneak to Europe if other teams above them do start to crumble. It is possible. It's that tight between 4th to 10th at the moment. Alrighty, Arsenal, West Ham. This one, obviously Arsenal with the defeat. I did predict them to drop points, and they did. Do I expect Arsenal to lose to West Ham? Obviously not. The red card, anyways, was very, very silly in my opinion. That was definitely a red card. I think it's the second red card already this season. I think I'm not too sure. I can't remember. But regardless, diabolical, isn't it? Oh, it's the second red card, but he got rescinded the first one. Now I don't think he's probably going to get rescinded. But yeah, Kudus was clearly on his way. If I'm not wrong, it was Kudus that was running. And yeah, he just tackled him when Kudus kind of had a whole half to himself. So clearly a goal opportunity, clearly a red card, no questions asked. And because of that, he shot Arsenal in the foot, really. Yeah, but at least West Ham managed to score a goal and really make the most out of it for the rest of the game, because to be fair, Arsenal was still threatening them to a large extent, and I think they're worrying signs in general whether or not Arsenal were going to score another goal. But regardless, still 1-0 result for West Ham is crucial, it's vital, they clearly need it. It puts them up to 16th still. Actually, no, they do still stay in 16th, but at least the gap to 12th is closing, or rather, at least it's about 3 points, which is probably still manageable at this point. But you can tell, they've not been winning games consistently as well. West Ham United has been poor, anyways, for this club. I'm still very, very disappointed in what I'm seeing this season. And as I said, the wildcard Graham Potter isn't necessarily the best either. Not exactly what I want, but it is what we are getting as fans. So we're going to see what happens around the rest of the season, but hopefully this probably could spark a change in form for the better, of course, not for the worse. But yeah, we'll see how for this one. I genuinely hope that West Ham are able to continue really, really good form. Otherwise, yeah. But for Arsenal, we're trying to fight for the title here, lads. And to lose against West Ham, it's bad. Because Liverpool have won their game, and the gap is now 11 points. Even if Arsenal win theirs, their game in hand, it's 8 points. It's just very difficult to close down. So Arsenal have also let Liverpool win the league. not just Man City, unfortunately. Fulham 0, Palace 2. For this one, I genuinely believe that Palace were just insane, I guess. Actually, for this one, I felt it was a really tight game in general. I think Fulham had some chances here and there, but Palace was just the clinical side at the end of the day, and that made the difference between both sides. Mateta scored again, which is, again, he and Beto have been pretty decent this season in general. They've been scoring odd goals here and there, but at the same time, they do feel rather consistent. But I mean, I predicted, well, I can't remember what I predicted for this one, but I'm quite sure probably predicted Fulham to get a slim, narrow 1-0 win, and the rationale was that Craven Cottage isn't an easy ground to play at. And yeah, it still isn't, in my opinion, despite this defeat. I think Palace were a little bit scared at times. It felt like they were a little bit scared at times. And I think Fulham were able to utilise the home ground and the voice of the crowd to push them further. But ultimately, Palace still won their game. So this one was a bit, I wouldn't say surprising, but a bit questionable. Or rather, you would feel that maybe a loss for Fulham is a little bit too much. But it is what we're getting. So I, for one, just feel that, there could have been better from Fulham. Should have been better from Fulham anyways. But regardless, I think it's a great win for Palace. Ultimately, where does that put them in the table? It puts them up to 13th. I mean, had they lost that game, yeah, they would probably be in 14th, I guess. Yeah, actually just one place difference, not too much because of their goal difference. But at least, they're keeping tabs with Tottenham, 4 points by Brentford is not too bad. I mean, considering the start that Palace have had the season when they were really at the bottom for quite a long time, I think to at least get results like that, some decent wins on the road as well, I think it's important for them to at least, try their best to push themselves up in the Premier League table. And that's what they're trying to do. But for Fulham, obviously disappointing because they are much better than that. And to lose that game is not good for them. And one of the top 10 teams obviously registered defeat. So not very good. But, they can obviously look forward to the next game and try their best to get a better result from them. Right, Villa and Chelsea. Now, for this one, I just think that it should have minimally been a draw, or Chelsea should have won. The number of chances Chelsea have missed, just remarkable. And to be honest, you must understand this. Chelsea were 1-0 up for most of the time, and they genuinely look destined to score another one. But somehow their destiny changed, because at the end they didn't score another one, and they've ended up losing to Villa. Now, Rashford Asensio, this combination is proving to be rather lethal. You can imagine, it's insane, isn't it? These both players come from different clubs where probably we expect them to do a lot better than they are currently. Obviously, Rashford at Manchester United and Asensio from Real Madrid. You would have never expected these two to come in. It feels like a career mode, FIFA FC career mode in my opinion. But Unai Emery somehow managed to bring both of them in, played both of them, and they both had massive impacts in the games thus far. And Rashford, to be honest, he has had huge impacts in the games. Even last game against, was it Liverpool? I can't remember, but maybe 2 games ago. But still really good free kick, etc. What I'm seeing with these two players have really changed Villa in general. They look a lot more confident despite being 1-0 down for most of the game. Chelsea really should be angry at themselves. They should have won this game, or at least get a draw. It doesn't make sense to me. I think so many chances that they've had, and Maresca must be very annoyed, because I would be, as a manager, I would have absolutely flipped bottles at them, throw bottles at them, because clearly, they should have won this game, and they didn't. So, good job, Chelsea. You've clearly shot yourself in the foot even more. And how does that do the table for you? I mean, you're in 7th now, and honestly, with that win, you could have overtaken Man City, which is crazy considering how things have been. But because of that, you've allowed Villa to close up to you to just a point. I mean, you just kind of helped make the top 10 fight still tighter than expected. I mean, to be honest, Man City to Villa separated by 2 points. That is how intense it is at the moment. But regardless, Villa, I mean, you've got to congratulate them, give credit to the wage due, because fighting spirit to the very death. Of course, the second goal could probably have been avoided. The ball just slid under Jorgensen's arms, which is, again, I mean, yeah, probably could have been avoided. But again, it's football. Goals like these do happen at the end of the day, and they can make or break games. And it did break for Chelsea for this one, because they just should have won, or at least had a draw. So Villa probably got themselves a little bit lucky, I guess, for this one. But Chelsea, Jesus, they just need to be better than this. It's just too bad. Newcastle Forest 4-3. Obviously, on paper, people are like, oh my god, the result was so tight. But I'm telling you, when you watch the game, Newcastle demolished Nottingham Forest in 12 minutes. 4 goals in the space of 12 minutes. Obviously, that includes a penalty. So, yes, 3 goals and a penalty, maybe. I guess you want to put it that way. But, to be honest, that is horrible for Nottingham Forest. Absolutely disgusting. Good for Newcastle. Disgustingly good from Newcastle. Disgustingly poor for Nottingham Forest. I just don't understand how you've managed to just lose the defence like that, Nottingham Forest, and allow Newcastle to just score 4 goals in the space of 12 minutes. It just doesn't sit right with me. But evidently, that's what has happened. That's what happened here. And to be honest, Nottingham to score 2 goals in the second half also suggested Newcastle's defence were a little bit leaky. Probably Nottingham Forest could probably back to 4-4, but I think it probably wasn't going to happen. Newcastle just had the upper edge over Nottingham. I mean, expected them to win, but not like this. It was a thriller of all sorts, to be honest. By the end of the day, you know, Newcastle, they should be happy with the win, albeit they made it a little bit difficult right towards the end, but still credit to them. As I said, Nottingham Forest third place is clearly under threat, and it is getting more and more under threat. But teams like City, Chelsea, when they could close the gap even more, they didn't. And because of that, I think Nottingham Forest should still find themselves a little bit lucky that they're still there. But at this point, they're not going to replicate a lesser season. I'm not even talking about winning the league. I'm talking about points tally. I don't think they're going to replicate that already. I think it's a bit too much now to replicate that, considering their slight downturn in form lately. But regardless, Nottingham Forest, very good win. Just keep on trying, I guess, to push themselves up. They could still get top 4, to be honest, if City chooses to drop even more points from now to the end of the season. It's the same for Nottingham, really. If they choose to drop more points to the end of the season, they could find themselves not even having Champions League next year. So Nottingham Forest will really need to start digging deep now, because they genuinely had quite a comfortable lead in third. Or rather, it didn't really felt that bad until now. So things can change quickly in football, in Premier League. This is probably one of those examples. But regardless, really good goals from Newcastle. Also really good goals from Nottingham Forest. I think fans have watched this. If you're neutral, I think, yeah, you've been given a treat here. Alright, Man City, Liverpool. This one, I mean, I don't really want to talk about it because Liverpool clearly just deserve to win. See chances here and there, but still just not the squad that I'm used to seeing. Haaland not playing, has that probably impacted? Probably not. We know he's very quiet in big games. I'm just glad that Marmoush is still there, simply because I felt like he was quite the player still. I think Marmoush was still a really, really good addition to the team. You know, still really, really good from Marmoush in general. Obviously, just couldn't make the impact. Doku's still okay, I guess, but still, I think 2-0 result against Liverpool is not too bad, I guess, at the end of the day, when they are obviously deserving champions. At least we didn't get smashed. I think there were fears that we're probably going to get smashed, to be honest, by Liverpool, but I mean, we didn't, so that's not a bad result, I guess, in general. But again, this result has probably amplified the fact that Liverpool deserve to win the league. The gap between City and Liverpool is now 20 points. And I'm sure I finally get the taste of when Liverpool were behind City by this amount. So it is what it is, ultimately. I think, as I've said, you know, I just want City to get fourth, third, just have to get Champions League football next year. To me, that's the priority at this stage. FA Cup, we'll see what we can do. I don't really see us winning that, but if we do, then sure, why not? I think this FA Cup next weekend as well. But regardless, this game, I think there's nothing much to talk about except congratulations, Liverpool, you've won the league. City and Arsenal have clearly both let you win the league after this match day. But there we go, guys. Thank you very, very, very much for watching this one. Drop a like, and if you guys have enjoyed, and of course, subscribe if you're new around here. Get discussing in the comments down below how you guys felt about Gameweek 26. Did you guys feel that maybe some teams probably deserve to do better? Did you guys feel that some of the decisions made on field were not really the best? I mean, something like Everton, you know, that do they deserve a penalty? Of course, I think I did talk about Bournemouth's red card there, but that probably could have changed the complexity of the game as well. I mean, it clearly did. Playing with 10 men against Wolves, that in itself would have been really just proven difficult. But still, I think Bournemouth just get that 1-0 loss, quite a slim margin. It wasn't too bad, at least. But still, it's a loss nonetheless. But that'll be it for today. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, goodbye.